So after getting those head bolts out, all nice and cleaned up here, we're in the basement now. It's a little warmer down here. It got cold last night. Anyways, I want to try to do the valve seals, which are located underneath. I ordered these guys up. These are Felpro also, same with the rest of my gaskets. There's exhaust and there's intake. Intakes are black in color. Exhausts are kind of a red. I don't know if the camera picks it up, but anyways, I got a nifty little spring compressor here. So we're going to go ahead and press down on the top right there, pull those keepers out, slide the valves out, do a little bit of a cleanup if they need them, and replace those seals. So this is a nifty little gizmo. Picked it up on Amazon, spring compressor. So basically what happens, you put your valve on the other side here. This guy here will go around the top side, compress down, and then allow you to slide those keepers out. Works pretty slick actually. Sometimes you have to kind of tap on the head of this just to break it free a little bit, but let's go ahead and pull one off. Alright, so there we are into the valve on that side. Comes around on the top side here, and now we're just going to crank down on this a little bit. Probably the only thing that I really don't like about this valve spring compressor is this thing just like falls out all the time. It's always hitting the floor on me. It's also a really good time to throw on the safety glasses. Anytime you're dealing with springs, possibility something's going to go snap and go where you don't want it to go. See if I can get a little better angle here on this. Alright, here we go. So this is already getting kind of tight, so I'm just going to tap it a little bit. Just like that. You can see that broke that free. I'm just going to keep cranking down on him. You don't have to go crazy on this, but just enough to get those keepers out of there. This is where a magnet comes in real handy. You just kind of reach in here and, well, maybe I gotta go a little bit crazier then. There we go. There's one, there's the other one. So now that those are out of the way, simply just back off on this guy. And voila! And putting it back together is exactly the opposite. Okay. Just kind of carefully get him out of there. And then your spring comes right out just like that. So down inside of there now, that's the valve seal. And that comes out of there real easy. Actually, I'm going to pull the valve out first. Slide him out. And take a pair of pliers here. You really don't have to be too nice on this because it's going in the garbage anyways, but that's it. It comes right out. So we'll do a whole bunch of cleanup, and then we'll do another video of putting everything back together. One other thing that's worth mentioning is mark where you took them out of the engine, rear, and then make sure you put them back in the same order. Don't know if it makes any difference, but my thought is it can't hurt, right? Alright, now that we got all the valves out, let's get the rest of these seals out of here. Pretty easy process. They didn't look all that bad, so I don't know if replacing them is going to help. I was burning a little bit of oil. Probably a quart every 2,000, 2,500, maybe 3,000 miles, so hopefully this will help, but like I say, they don't seem like they're that bad. So I'm not going to video all this, but basically going to just take some brake cleaner, some paper towels, and a lot of patience and just try to clean some of this up. It's kind of nasty. You want to make sure that these mating surfaces right here are nice and clean. You know, obviously the reason we're doing this is so it doesn't leak, and if you've got some crap build up there, it's going to leak. So just going to go through and clean it up a little bit. In the end, this is what this one ended up looking like. I did this one first, obviously. I didn't spend too much time on the valves. They weren't too bad, but I got some of the flaky stuff off of there. You can tell the exhaust versus the intakes. Whoops, let's point the camera the right way. Exhaust versus intake. These guys are nice and clean. Well, they're baked anyways. So that one came out pretty clean in the end. See if we can get this one looking like that too. There's a quick shot of the progress. It's the after, and it's the before, obviously. Hopefully it's not the other way around. So doing this all with paper towels and brake cleaner and a plastic putty knife to get off some of the big nuggets. Use plastic, that way it can't hurt anything. Now that we got this side reasonably well cleaned up, I think we can go ahead and start reassembling. So the other side, I actually ended up, it's called lapping the valves. So that, come on, focus right there, that shiny part where the light's reflecting, that's where the valve is actually sealing off. And there's another side right there. I can't really get the shine, but it's, that surface, like right at the end of my fingernail right there. So the other side, and this one too, it's a little bit like kind of carboned up. The other side, like I said, I did lap it, which involves basically some like grit you put in there and then you kind of spin it around. I don't think I'm going to do this side because, I mean, it seems to be sealing really well and I don't see any really bad spots. Seems to be pretty shiny all the way around there, and a little bit of carbon, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't think I'm going to bother with this side. It was kind of a pain on the other side. I couldn't really get anything to stick there without cleaning those up. So let's start the reassembly process. Put these valve seals back in and compress the springs and reassemble. Alright, to reassemble, put just a very, very light coating of grease on there. Again, you want to make sure that you're putting the right valve in the right spot. The right one would be the one that came out of that spot. Okay, so Felpro has included this neat little slide cover, which I believe just goes over the top like that when you get ready to put your valve seal on, just to keep the seal nice and safe there from riding up over that gouge. These valves seem to be not very sharp, so I don't think it really matters. But I'll use them anyways, so let's kind of slide that down over there. Give it a little bit of a push. Seat down in. I wasn't getting too picky about it because with the spring on there, it's going to push it down anyways. And take your spring, slide that down over. A little top piece there, and then on with the spring compressor. Alright, let's tighten him up. And then as you start tightening, you'll notice that the spring will push that valve seal down in the rest of the way. There it goes. Keep cranking down. So probably somewhere right about in there. And take the little keepers. There's a right way and a wrong way for these. So it's kind of a wedge. You want the thick side up, the pointy side down. Probably have to wiggle things around just a little bit. Get it in there like that. And then do the same thing on the other side. Looks like I got to crank down just a little more. There we go. Appears to have fallen into place. Start backing off. You just want to make sure that they stay in there. we go. Just like that. Then just repeat for the rest. Okay, all the valve seals are replaced. Valves are back in place. All the keepers are in. Reasonably cleaned up, so I think we can start reassembling outside. Alright, we're starting with the right side of the engine, or rear, I guess if you were looking at the front of the car backwards. Gonna end up putting the gasket and everything on outside because that's the way I took it apart. Getting to these lower bolts was very challenging. So I'm gonna do it all outside here first. I blew these holes out. They had some guck in them, so not a bad idea to grab the air compressor, just get all the gunk out. These are replacement bolts. I ended up going with Dorman. I checked my local GM dealer and they had 2 in stock, so needless to say I needed 10 more. So I picked up this Dorman pack. They were a lot cheaper than OEM too, so it's always a bonus. Hopefully they hold up okay. I took this apart. I think I mentioned I had 2 broken ones. One was already broken before I even started, and then the other one I just barely put the wrench on it and it snapped. Alright, so the torque spec on these is 18, let me check, 18 Newton meters or 13 foot-pound. So, got my torque wrench dialed up. Already torqued those 2. I've been kind of going around and getting them close, so I don't over tighten one end and have the other end completely loose. So another word with, or some advice I guess, with torque wrenches. I had a couple of different ones to choose from, so I always try to get as close to the center of the range as you can with a torque wrench. You know, if you've got one that your range goes from 10 foot-pounds to 100 and you're trying to torque an 11 foot-pound, let's say, that's probably not the best wrench to do that with. They tend to be less accurate at the end of their ranges. So this was the smallest of the wrenches that I have. Just going back over all of them, it seems as though as I tighten one, the others get loose. So let's just go back and double check them all again here one final time. Okay. Yep. Let's say we're good. This doesn't seem overly tight, but I suspect when things heat up, it wants a little bit of room to expand and stuff, and you can definitely see that it's crushed the gasket down in, so it looks like it's doing its job. On to the next. Alright, so one of those issues we said we had to deal with later was that broken stud right there. Had a bolt like that in it, and it broke off. So luckily I do have a M16x1, which is what that thread is, so hopefully we can drill that out and re-tap it. And if we can't, oh well, I'm not going to cry over it. I was able to get that drilled out on the drill press with a 13/16 drill. I'm not sure if it's big enough or not. It's going kind of tough here, but usually if you kind of just work them easy and back them out a little bit, it's definitely putting up a fight. Drilled it a little farther than I wanted to. I actually poked through on the inside, but that's okay. The tap will clear. Since this is not a, I don't know what you call them, but it's got a point at the end. It's not a flat one. Well, that was a struggle, but in the end, I won. Got about halfway through, and part of the old bolt really hung up on it, and it kind of made it a challenge, but I won. I was able to get through, get a new bolt in there. So we should be good. Alright. Do the other side here. Same torque spec obviously on this side. New bolts again.